Session number 5, if you will. We'll move on here to the practices. And many people pay lip service to the notion that a good marriage takes work. But what does this mean? Every marriage is faced with certain emotional tasks that the husband and wife need to accomplish together for the marriage to grow and deepen, for your marriage to develop into the rich and safe and secure intimacy God designed it to be. Because they touch on some of marriage's most important work, the most common areas of solvable conflict are relatives and friends, money, sex, spiritual issues, housework, children, stress, career changes, addictions, and infidelity. The top four issues are the top reasons for divorce and conflict that leads to divorce, or are in number 1 to 4. The last two, addictions and infidelity, are always the death knell. It'll kill it. If you're not willing to work at it and you're not willing to resolve the issues, especially in 9 and 10, then you'll kill it. All these are solvable problems if you're doing the deposits, the 4, 5, 6 deposits. If you're doing that and you're putting it in, and if you're not, all these will kill your marriage right off the bat. By consistently working to eliminate the 4 horsemen and their spurs. Remember the 4 horsemen? The selfish demands, the judgments, the anger, the independent behavior. If you will eliminate those and diligently make massive deposits into your spouse's love bank, you will have a safe, loving context in which to address conflicts. Using the grace policy for joint agreement along with the guidelines for successful negotiation on these problems will allow the wisdom of God's Word to renew your mind, transform these difficulties into times of growth, and thus strengthen your oneness. And again, there's the model for the conflict resolution. The soft start, learn to make and receive repairs, calm yourself, reach a fair resolution, be tolerant of others' faults. If you can take care of and do that, then these that are in this list, and we're only going to look at a few. We're not going to look at them all. You can look at them. But if you can do that, your relationships with relatives and friends. Here's the in-laws and the outlaws, if you will. Here's the in-laws. You know, the task in dealing with this area is establishing a sense of we-ness or solidarity between husband and wife. You're going to establish your wife as your wife, husband, men. That's your first responsibility to her. She is yours. You're marrying her. You are not marrying her mother. You are not marrying her father. And by the way, she's not marrying your mother or father. You're marrying each other. The mother-in-law problem. Oy, oy, oy. That's good, because usually it is. Because what mom does, you think about this. Moms have a deeper attachment and bond to her son than anybody else in the children. Dad has a deeper attachment to daughter. So here comes old cutie pie Blondie, who's snagged my boy's heart, and she's taken him away from me. And she's no wench, I'm going to get him. Yeah, wow. Dad looks at her, looks at him and says, if you mistreat my daughter, I'm going to come down with you with the shotgun. There's a country western song about cleaning my shotgun on the front porch. Right? See, guys, in marriage, you need to develop a we-ness. This is us. A husband and a wife are going to leave their mother and dad and cleave and make a new identity and a new unit. And I'll tell you what, one of the hardest relationships is in-laws. Now, my in-laws, I didn't have a hard relationship because, as Linda explained to her, her dad was a great man of faith and of substance, and her mom was kookier than a cuckoo clock, and we understood that, and we got along just fine. I understood that. I didn't have to worry about mom. I had to worry about dad just to make sure he understood that I was going to take care of his daughter. Okay? But in some relationships, the in-laws become the problem, both sides of the gamut, okay? Because there isn't a, she's my wife, and you're not going to talk about my wife like that. Do not tolerate any contempt toward your spouse. Okay? You are making a new identity. That's my wife. You don't talk about you know who you're talking to is your mom and dad. Because it's time for you to put your big boy pants on and establish a new identity. That's what you're doing. Mom, we love you dearly. You're welcome all the time, but that's my wife that you're talking about, and I need to knock it off right now. You develop a sense of we-ness. Man, you do that, guys, your wife will trip over the moon trying to take care of you. Because you have established the fact that she is yours to the most important person in your life, which is your parents. Don't be disrespectful in the conversation, but be firm, be very clear. You know the definition of mixed emotions is seeing your mother-in-law drive your new Cadillac over the cliff. Okay? Did I do that one okay? I got insurance, okay. All right? That's the mixed emotion. Now, again, if you don't have that issue, wonderful. Love them, enjoy them, do, be, okay? Did you just get that one, Brian? Okay, you got that one earlier? All right. But the thing is family and then friends. Because what do friends do? Well, I'm going to talk to my girlfriends. No, you're not. You're going to go talk to your husband. And when your girlfriends get to knocking your husband about being a jerk and this and that, you got to stand up for your spouse and say, knock it off. That's my husband. And by the way, I don't think I'm going to be around you guys anymore, and exit stage right. Boys do it the same way. Guys, you get around, you get to chit-chatting. Hey, whoa, wait a minute. That's my wife you're talking about, buddy. And if you don't want to pick your front two teeth up off the ground, you better be quiet now. You got to. Because you are establishing a sense of we-ness. Financial problems. The task is the balancing the freedom and empowerment money represents with the security and trust it also symbolizes. Boy, this is a place of real conflict in marriage. Money is symbolic of many emotional needs such as security, pleasure, power, and goes to the core of our individual value system. You need to determine a scriptural guidelines for handling money and develop a joint written policy for handling your finances. Establish a clear-cut budget using the grace policy of joint agreement. You need to spend less than you make. Just because you got the checkbook with checks in it doesn't mean you can write checks. The banker called the old lady and said, ma'am, you got to quit writing checks. She goes, you're out of money. He goes, why? I still got checks in the book. Can't do that. You need to sit. You need to have, money is tough. It's a tough thing. Money is where you are going to get your freedom and your power and your empowerment. And you know what begins to happen is you think you got it, she knows better, and you're out there not even consulting the other half, and you're buying stuff, and she goes, what are you doing? And now you got what? Whoo! Boom. I'll tell on us a little bit. When Linda and I got married, we were not younger in our age like some of you guys are. Linda had already had Brian and had a house and a home and going. And then I moved in. Okay? I had to make a decision about the money thing in the house, in the marriage. Now, I could have been a dictator and walked in and said, okay, give me the bills, so I'm doing this, bum, 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 bum. But I didn't do that. I just kind of slipped in with that and said, you keep doing what you're doing a good job. Just add my paycheck to the mix. Now, there are times when she comes to me and says, hey, I need you to pay the bills, I'm tired of it. And I pay the bills. But I didn't roll in and say, undo everything that she had been doing. She's a single mom running a household. That would have been stupid. So I come in and I say, here, look, let me just add. What has subsequently happened is she's the finance department. And you know why she's the finance department? Because I'd buy anything and everything I see. When we go buy a new car, you know who does the negotiating? She does. I don't. The guys look at me and they go, well, what do you think, sir? I said, you see that young little lady right over there? You need to make her happy. I'll sign the documents and do everything that needs to be done, but she's got to be okay with it. We go to Chapman Chevrolet, they had an ad in the paper for a Cavalier, a little two-door Cavalier, $9,500. That was the ad in the paper. We went to Chapman, no, not Chapman, Thoroughbred. We walk in and we're looking for the Cavalier for $9,500, right? 95? So the guy, the salesman, slick dude, slick back hair, got the rings, got the chains, got her. He comes up and goes, what do you, how can I help? We're looking for this car. Oh, I don't have that. Okay, thanks. We're walking out the door. He goes, well, wait a minute. Can I show you something? No, we want this car. Now, in the small print, limited, available, whatever. Okay? And that's fine. We're walking out the door. He goes, well, wait a minute. Hang on. I got something else. Linda, meek, mild, won't harm a flea, says, no, we want this vehicle right here, or we are leaving. That guy looked at me and I said, that's what it is. And you know what that guy produced? That car for $9,500. Now, it took us a couple hours of, bring us your manager, we're leaving. I mean, but you know why I did that? I found something in me that she qualified, met perfectly. I'd have bought that yellow one the dude wanted to sell to begin with, which was $10,500. I needed a car. She comes along and says, no, we can only afford this. Because we got 3 babies, and we got this and this and this and that. And blah, 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 blah. Now, financial issues. Now, in saying that, let me say this. When we do buy something, who has the final say? I do. But it is not until after a lengthy negotiation time with my wife, where I take in her considerations and her thoughts, and then I process through all of that, and then I make the decision. Because the head of the family is me, and it's my responsibility. It falls on my shoulders. But I know that when I ask my wife a question about something like finances, she's going to tell me the budget and what's going on in the budget and where we can go. And then I can then do what? Make the decision as the head on what we do. Follow that? She's not making the ultimate decision. She's an integral part of the decision-making process. Right, hon? Okay. All right? Because what happens is I say that to people and they go, oh, you're just browbeat. You're just beat by the woman's running the show. Not at all, man. It's a what? It's taking some of the stuff we've been looking at and saying, how do we come to a resolution here? Okay? Financial problems. You need to get on board with one another and you need to get it in line. And before you get married or as you get married, you need to eliminate that big D word, debt. You don't need to have it. I'm not talking about buying a house or anything like that. I'm talking about don't have it. Oh, I see Facebook. I'm going to buy a truck. I'm going to buy this. You can't do that. Because what that does, not that you can't, I'm at liberty to do it, but what that does then is it puts another stressor on the relationship that can cause the horses to come running. Okay? That's why. Financial problems, you need to be careful with them. Pay attention. By the way, all through Scripture, there's a lot of stuff about money. Money, money, money. The next issue that causes trouble is sex. He used the four-letter word, sex. It's the three-letter word that's really a four-letter word. Oh my goodness. Sex, it's a fundamental appreciation and acceptance of each other. It's God's way of saying, for man to say, I love you to each other, man and woman. Sex isn't just for making babies. It is to join two human beings in the most intimate union possible. Sexual love, freely shared in marriage, is the most beautiful and special way God gave us to say, I love you. No other area of a couple's life offers more potential for embarrassment, hurt, and rejection. You are at your most vulnerable when that piece of the relationship is on board. You know why, don't you? I don't like the way I look. Boy, he's gonna snicker. Turn the lights off, honey. Put the covers up. What do you mean, no? We're all adults. Come on. I got my own children are sitting here. You got to understand. It will cause trouble, folks. Communication is generally at its most vague, indirect, and imprecise and inconclusive, making it difficult to decipher what is actually being said to each other. Folks, basically, you need to be clear with one another. You need to learn to talk to each other about sex in a way that lets you both feel safe. In Scripture, by the way, in Scripture, there's a list of prohibitive sexual activities. Don't do's. That list is very short, by the way. So because that list is very short, then all the other aspects regarding sex are what? Open and available and enjoyable. But as long as you have what? That clear, open communication and you know what's expected of each other and what's going on. If you're getting married, obviously sex generates the babies. That's how that happens. So if you don't want any more babies, what do you got to fix? Okay? You need to have a conversation. You guys are engaged. You guys are just gotten married. You need to have a conversation about children. Not so much how many you want, but what's going to happen when you do have them. How are they going to be raised? Where are you going to go to church? Where are you going to go to school? What are you going to do with it? That stuff needs to be it needs to be negotiated out. It needs to be discussed. It needs to be open. When Linda and I got married, I knew right away she wanted to have 2.5 kids. Well, 3. When we had the twins and the doctor looks at us and says, you know that you have an 80% chance to have multiples, don't you, again? In other words, 4 at one time. I looked at her and I said, are you kidding me? You want to have enough? I got my boy and I got my girl. We have Brian. What more do we need? She goes, I want one more. And I said, honey, you heard the doctor. How in the world is that going to work? And, we kind of went around the stump about it a little bit, but I caved. And we had Emily, but Emily was a twin. And I looked at her and I said, we're going to have 4 under the age of 2. You're nuts. Because I'm going to sleep. You wanted them, you can have them. And then Emily's twin passed away and so forth, and we have Emily. So guess how many we have? She got her 1. There you go. Okay. But see, the thing is we had already had that conversation. I told you, for 6 months before I ever came and really got, to be able to date her, we were writing. I had already asked her that. We had already talked about that. So what threw the loop was the doctor and 80%. I'm sitting there going, holy cow, I got to get a bigger car. A house and a better job, quick. Learn to talk. You got to learn to talk to each other. It's okay. I did. I went from a Corsica little 4-door to a big Chevy van. Every time we pulled in, somebody always thought we were Mormon. Are you guys Mormon? No, we're not Mormon. We bought the car to tote the stroller because we had three. We had triplets. And the strollers wide wouldn't go through the doors at the mall. So we bought an inline one. Okay? And the only picture, well, anyway, I'm talking about pictures. And so but that inline one was this way, so it wouldn't go in the trunk. So it had to go up in the van at an angle so we could shut the doors and carry all the stuff. So that's where the big red van came from. You got to do what you got to do. All right, the goal of sex is to be close, to have more fun, to feel satisfied, and to feel valued and accepted in this most tender area of your marriage. Follow your giver rule and become consummate lovers. What is the giver rule? Make the other person happy. Specialize in common courtesies, in open expressions of love and affection. I tell you what, one of the most troubling parts in marriage and marriage trouble is this area of sex. Because it is the don't talk three-letter word that's really a four-letter word, and it should not be that way. These are the most wonderful times that you can spend with just one another in marriage, is right here. Then you have becoming parents. This is where you begin to expand your sense of we-ness to include your children. Now, your marriage is not your children. Your marriage is husband and wife, and then the children come. In Genesis 2, when he says that man's going to leave mom and dad and cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one, and it's a period at the end of that verse. Children don't make the marriage. Marriage don't make the children. Well, anyway, you understand that. But what happens when the children show up is that the baby sets off a series of gigantic changes in marriage. You got lack of sleep. You got feeling overwhelmed and unappreciated. The awesome responsibility of caring for such a helpless creature. Juggling job, economic stress, lack of time for yourselves and each other. And this is only for starters. You guys have had children, you understand that. The big if is whether the husband experiences the transformation to parenthood along with his wife or gets left behind. If I can make a suggestion to the young newlyweds getting married, do not have children right away. Take a year or two to just be you. It will enhance being parents down the road. Because when you spend the time and having, again, Lynn and I, we got married, the twins came, okay, the next year. We did not have a lot of we time, okay? That set some struggles up, especially for me, with her. So from experience, take your time. Be deliberate. Now, if uh-ohs happen, that's fine. But just have that issue because you need the we time. You need the time to kind of build this up. Because when that baby shows up, 9 out of 10 times, dad goes and sits down in the living room and doesn't come along with the wife. Or he gets left behind. The deep, selfless love produces a profound reorientation of meaning to mom's life. So life-altering that if her husband doesn't go through it with her, it is understandable that distance would develop between them. Because you know what hubby wants? He wants his old wife back. He must follow her into the new realm that they've entered. Only then can their marriage continue to grow. He no longer feels like only a husband, but he is a father too. He feels pride, tenderness, protection toward his offspring, and so forth. Folks, guys, you guys just starting, pay attention to this. Possible solutions. First, ignore some of the popular advice about marriage and family being a balancing act. Marriage and family are one cloth. You are in it together. And to the extent husband and wife make this shift, the parent-child relationship and the marriage thrive. Guys, when you have children, you don't say, okay, we're stop being hubby and, and now we're going to do this. No, it's all one. It's not a balancing act. It's a flow. Focus on your mutual friendship. Keep making frequent deposits. Keep that deposit stuff. That's why I said, you guys, if you can, just hold on and, okay? Now, in Linda and I's defense, we had to a little quicker to have the children because of age and stuff like that and some other things, okay? My point is you need to build those deposits. Get those accounts full. Have the withdrawals. Go through a few skirmishes. Work down through it. Have an ability to negotiate and to do, and then say, okay, now let's have children because we're solid. And when the little kid shows up, mom is now mom. And husband can come along. Wife is now mom. Husband can come along and be dad. And then move forward. Don't exclude dad from baby care. By the way, that's more than just changing diapers. Paying attention, guys, all the way across. Let dad be baby's playmate. That doesn't sound right, but playmate. Carve out time for the two of you. But remember, you haven't failed if you spend most of the time discussing the baby. You've succeeded. That's important. You go out on a date and you leave the kid with the babysitter. It's okay to go check. It's normal. Guys, don't feel offended. Ladies, wives, don't feel offended if dad goes and checks on the baby. Okay? It's normal. Be sensitive to dad's needs. He's still going to feel deprived. Ain't that the truth? Well, guys, think about this. You've had her attention. Now you have to share that attention with some other little snot-nosed running booger over here. Okay? Oh, they love me. Give mom a break. She's going to need it. Okay? Now the rest of them. Housework, stress, spiritual issues, career change. Spiritual issues, let's look at that one. The rest of them you can read. The spiritual issues is to live in harmony with the will of God for your lives and marriage. Solutions, develop regular spiritual disciplines and grow together. Be in fellowship with and submission to a sound grace church and its leadership. Find ways to strive together. Serve together, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you what, that issue right there is very important. Because too often times we've had hammered into our thinking over the years and so forth that in order for my marriage to flourish, we have to have a Bible study every night of the week at dinner with the books open and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm going to tell you what, that is not serving the law. That is a legalistic performance system that you've allowed to be set up in your family, okay? Now, having said that, if you have Bible study every night, it's a great thing. Don't get me wrong, okay? There is no book, there's no verse in the Bible that says you have to study every day of the week. Otherwise, you are not spiritual. Sorry. Okay? I'll give you some insight into my family growing up. We never had Bible study at home. We never did. You know why? Because 4 times a week, you know where I was? At church. Sunday morning, Sunday school, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And you know what my dad did? I sat right down there in the front row or in the back row, usually in the back row because we're kids. And you know what I listened to? My dad teach me every Sunday, every Wednesday night. You mean you never had Bible study? The great pastor? No, we never did. Sorry to bust your bubble or your idea about it. Because the husband and wife work together, live together in the roles that they have in serving the Lord. You know where we serve the Lord growing up, where my family serves the Lord here, is right here in this local assembly. Follow that? Don't put yourself under the pressure of cracking the book open every time you sit down. Now, I'm not saying don't read it. Paul tells Timothy, till I come, give attendance to reading. If you want to sit and read together, that's fine. I think that's a great idea. But where you got to sit down and you got 3 points and an outline to have a Bible study, Okay? And by the way, the wife says, if you don't do this, you're not spiritual. And you're not spiritually leading this home. That is wrong. That's legalistic. Oh, is that her? Okay. All right. We'll have to edit that part out of the tape. The thing is, guys, think about this. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for Bible study, okay? But don't make it a, if you don't do this, you're not performing and doing your role. Do it because you want to, you have developed that sense of sitting and doing, okay? Does that make sense? And then the other one in this list here is the issue about being in a good grace church. You need to be here. I don't know how to say it otherwise. You need to be here. Okay? You have kids. We have Sunday schools. We're teaching them. We're educating them. We're educating them. We're bringing them up. We've got things going on, things doing this week, again, next weekend. We got all this stuff going on. It's important for you as mom and dad to be there. Bring your kids. Okay? You need to be there. Husband and wives, you need to be here. And you know what? Honestly, you come, you sit there, and we're so different than every other church out there, every church out there, in that we study. And you may be having a bad day, and you don't want to be here, and you don't want to, it's heavy thinking. But be here. Because what happens next door around the coffee table? You get the clucking, and everything is okay, don't you? You have the fellowship. So being in fellowship with a sound grace church and submission to a ground grace sound church and its leadership. And then here find ways to serve together. The greatest thing that you could do as a husband and a wife is go and tend nursery together. Now we don't have a nursery because we don't have babies, but when we do, husbands and wives go and tend nursery. That's a great way to spend time together at church doing something that helps other people. Esteeming others better than themselves. Follow that? Okay. Career changes, addictions, infidelity. The rest of that you can just read and look at. You can now solve the problems, I hope, with following some set strategies. With coming along and saying, we are going to eliminate the 4 horsemen. We're going to put them out the pasture. How we're going to do that is we're going to get some thinking and some decision making under and leave the emotion out of it. We're going to get over here and we're going to get some things settled. Then we're going to make a strategy together. And then that strategy we're going to walk down through of how, hey, we're going to make this space. We're going to pay attention to one another. We're going to have some respect and some fondness and some kindness. And we're going to just walk right down through it. And then when the problems come up, when the problems come up, we're going to take a time out, and we're going to make sure everybody's calmed down. And then we're going to come and sit at the kitchen table, and we're going to work this out. And we're going to work it out together. And if you've got children, send them to their rooms. Better yet, I would suggest let them sit there and watch you work it out. Because then they learn how to work it out. Instead of, mom and dad are yelling at each other again. I hope mom wins today. No, I hope dad. No. Okay, yeah, there probably are. But see, you come together, we're going to work this out right here. Let's work this out. They're solvable. Every problem is solvable. There's only a handful that are perpetual that you can't get over. When you run into those and you develop those, have a sense of humor about it, figure out how to cope. But you know what, folks? We can solve the problems when we follow and have the strategies that we've developed. Now, I've given you a basic general idea in that you work it out in your family with your husband, with your wife. Move to that next higher, that next plane, if you will. Okay? All right.